Hi, in this episode of Tweeks with Tweek, we're going to take beads and buttons and make beautiful night lights. Join us. Hi, this is Tweek. Today's episode, Buttons and Beads, is a takeoff from a nightlight episode I did a year ago, and it all began with a button. My grandson liked this airplane button, and that got me to thinking, I wonder if I could incorporate this button into one of the nightlights to, of course, surprise him with it. And here's what I created. A nightlight that had the airplane buttons on it. They're flying through the sky. It's very pretty when it's lit up. Today I'm going to show you how I did that. And I'll talk about the buttons first, because to get them to work on your design, you need a button that's going to fit on the pin in the way you want it to. These are 2-inch quilter's pins that I'm using to make the night lights. This is the amount of space I have to place the bead design, whatever you decide on. And if I take a button, look at that cute little bee, and I put her on, she's going to be sideways, and she's not going to show up. Even if I put pretty beads, she won't. I can't turn her to be vertical for the design on the nightlight. So what you do is you go find some buttons that you like. There's a bunch of different kinds. Now, there's a butterfly pattern that also is situated so that when you use it on the pin, it goes sideways. Now, for a butterfly, that might look cute going around a nightlight. There's kitties, there's all kinds of different creatures you could use. So what you need to do is find your button that you like, see if it'll fit. And what I liked most was a little ladybug. Now she's perfect. So I'm going to work her into a nightlight, and I'll show you what I did. Project supplies are buttons and beads of your choice, some wire, at least 12 2-inch quilter's pins, an LED nightlight, a pair of needle nose pliers, and a pair of scissors. So to get started, I picked out a pattern. She's red, so I'm going with reds and pinks, and I imagine her on a flower or coming up a stem as ladybugs will. When you're working with the bead, once you close it down, the head of the bead will be at the bottom of the nightlight, and this little curl will be at the top. So whatever design you come up with, in my case, I'm working upside down with the design. Then I'm going to add 3 red beads, and I'm going to add a green bead and another little green bead. Now I have just a little tiny bit left there where I can squeeze this around and pop it into the head of the pin, and there's my first. And that will be the design I use to go around the nightlight. I need to make 8 or 9 more of these. Let's see. Here we go. So we go with our pattern that I picked out, the pink. We have to make 12 pins total and pop it in. You might get skewered a few times when you do this, but it's worth it. There it goes. All right. We've done 11 of these. Isn't that going to be pretty? Now the 12th, which is the ladybug, going from top to bottom. So I've got a pink. It's going to be at the top. Then I'm going to put a little flower, because I thought that would be cute if she was crawling towards a flower, as ladybugs will do. Where is the little hole? There it is. Okay. There's that bead, the little flower bead. Now I'm going to put my ladybug. Before I do that, I'm going to put a tiny bead. I'm trying to hold her in place. I think I'm going to put 2. See how she best fits. And now see, she's a little more snug on the pin. Try to hold her in place a little bit. And then one more green one to match the others in the pattern. Now very carefully bring that around and snap. Try not to get skewered. There we go. And she's on. And she's pretty stable. We're going to hook these all together. Ooh, I'm liking this pattern. Now the way we do this is we take some of our wire. This is a satin gold wire. I like this wire because It's very strong, and I can knot it, so I don't have to add any other findings to it. So I'm going to measure out way more than I need, but I want to be able to work with it. I want to be able to tie it up in the end. And what I'm going to do is take a piece and gather up my beads in front of me. It's a pretty straightforward pattern. This is the bottom of the nightlight. That'll be the top. So we want our ladybug to be going up. And I take the wire and I pull in the beads that I want to use in the bottom. What I'm going to do is take the pin and have the beads facing me so I can keep track. And push the wire through and add a bead. Okay, now I'm going to push another wire through. Keep the front towards you. And what you're doing is the bead is going to be a spacer between the pins. It's going to keep anything from going through that space. So you got to use a good enough size bead so that it doesn't slip through into the space that's in the top of the pin. And then we just complete the pattern by following through. Okay, now I'm going to add in the ladybug. There she is. A pin, a bead, and then keep going till we finish. Here's what we've got. A pretty curtain. This is when I lay it out like a curtain, and I make sure, because the times I've messed up by having the pins upside down or putting too many beads where they shouldn't be. So we've got the curtain of beads. Everything's in alignment. Everything's as I want it to be. All the pins are facing the right way. Now I'm just going to make a knot. Now this is why I like this wire, because it's really strong. I do have to be very careful to keep tight as these come together, as you put your knot in there, and the wire will hold. I got to make sure I don't let it loosen up too much. Got some wrangling to do here, but it all works out. So I'm using my fingers to hold that knot tight, and then I pull the other knot in. See how we did here. And everything should come into alignment, and you end up with a very pretty circle. I want to put a couple more knots in there to hold it. So I use this needle pliers, and I just give it a couple good tugs. And then add a few more, just to make sure it stays. This wire is very strong, and I love the way that I can just manipulate it by making some knots. And I think that'll hold. Okay. A couple of good tugs. Now I'm going to cut away the excess, and then I'll push the knot in towards the center of the design. So let's see. And then manipulate the knot towards the center. There you have the bottom done. Flip it all open. Look at this. Everything looks good. Now we're going to work on pulling it all up to the top, and that's the top of your nightlight. So let's get some more wire. Now, since I've got my ladybug, I thought I'd use some white pearlies at the top. So I'm going to start towards the back, because if I'm going to have a knot, I want it away from the main attraction there. So a bead, and now we're going to come through that top little circular part of the pin. Here again, you want to use a bead that's big enough that it won't slide into that spot, where these beads are spacers between the pins. So you see how that doesn't go through and holds. Go all the way around, bead in a pin. So as I'm coming around towards where the button is, I just manipulate the button to make sure she's not stuck in sideways and she's facing straight out between the pins. Easy to do. And now we're going to meet up. This is when I make sure I've got everything all set. Believe me, I've many times added too many beads and had to go back, and that's what it's going to look like. Everything's all set. Everything looks good. I'm going to pull this out so I have more to work with, and I'm going to make a knot. Probably could save a little on the wire, but using more wire makes it a lot easier to put that knot in there. See how this pulls all together? Everybody's in alignment. I'm going to make a nice knot here. Make sure I pull it tight, add a few more knots. And I'm going to add one more. Oh my goodness. I'm smiling because I think she's so cute. Cut off the excess right above the knot. And then take the knot and just circle it in so it's in the center. There's our top. She's so cute. Go into her little flower. Now let's talk about the lights we use underneath her. I got the LED lights. They're brand new. They're light sensors. You don't have to turn them on and off, and they don't get hot. So they come with this little plastic covering that I just take. I'll make that into something else. And she would sit like that. Very simple. And then put her in the plug. She'll come on at night, and she's very lovely. If you don't have an LED, if you have an older style, the kind that are click on and off, those can be used too. As you can see, ooh, she's kind of tight to get her on there, but she will stay. I don't like this gap though. So what I did was I came up with a way to make a little collar. And how will we get that on there? First, come up with a combination of beads that I liked that would go with my nightlight. And I give it the same wire and give it a couple of knots. Simple fix to whatever nightlight you decide to use. And then take the bulb out. Set this down. Put the bulb back in. And you have a little more color and a little less gap. That works out really well. She looks lovely not lit. How does she look lit up? Let's find out. Got a trusty cord here and ready, ladybug? Oh, and she'll look better in the dark too. Isn't that cute? Let's try another one. One of my favorites was the frog, but what started all this was the little airplane that my grandson liked. So let's see what that one looks like. Let's see. I made a little apron for it, or a little collar. I'm going to put it over the LED and put a little piece of tape there so we can simulate nighttime and see what happens. And there you go. Look better in the dark, but oh my gosh, so cute. And then let's try my favorite, which is, okay, ladybug, you're my favorite, but I like the frog. Yeah. And put him on. Oh my gosh, whatever your fancy. You like frogs, you like ladybugs, you like airplanes. You let your imagination go wild and have some fun making beaded nightlights. Such a joy. And there you have it. Very, very cute little nightlight you made with some buttons and beads. If you like what you've seen here today, give us a like, subscribe to our channel, and be sure to ring the bell so you know when our next episode will be. So bring a little bit of light into somebody's life. You can do it. See you again.